Masechta bava basra daf samach amar aleph. We're starting from the last line of Nun Testament Beis. Amar Rab Nachman. Velistim, let a person seal. What's if a person comes and seals off? One of the shuttim seals off the window, meaning by building a wall right against the opening of the window of the house that he had opened there already for 3 years. Immediately, for the one who built the wall right against the window, blocking his light, he's immediately zeichem and allowed to keep the wall there. If he wasn't meicha right away, if the Baal Chaleim wasn't meicha miyad, that in itself is and he kept quiet, is that he lost his chazaka of having light come into his house or into his chatzah. Shein adam asui, because a person normally doesn't look at somebody shesim eirei befanav b'sheisek. A person doesn't, when he's witnessing others blocking his light, he doesn't remain silent. He immediately opens his mouth, and from this that he didn't is that he gave away his chus, that chazaka that he had for the light coming through that window. We learned in the Mishnah, if he bought a house in another adjoining courtyard, so he has opening to the courtyard in front of him and not to the back, even though he's a shutuf in the chatzah that's in back of him, he cannot open the house to the chatzah in back of him, only to the way he bought the house with the opening up to the front of the house. So my time, what's the reason? Why can't he open up another opening to the chatzah where he's a shutuf in? Because by making this new opening, it's causing that there should be more traffic. And the kavanah is not for Hezekiah. According to the Yeshua Farshim, the kavanah is not for Hezekiah, only because there's going to be a lot of people walking by, too much traffic. It says in the Sefer, says, and we learned in the Mishnah, the only way that it'll be permissible if he builds a room within his house or builds another floor or attic in his house. So says the Gemara, this is mashma, which it's mashma that he could extend his house, make an extension on the side of the house, on the back of the house, or another floor. How could he do that? But isn't he increasing the traffic to the people in the courtyard? So how could you say that it's, even though they're not going through, even though these people are going through the house, this new structure where new people came in are coming through his house, but nevertheless they're causing that there should be more traffic. What does it mean that he could build another room? It doesn't mean extending the house. Within the house, there's a bigger room, so he does shechalak v'shnaim. He divided that big room into two. Ubai, and what did the Mishnah mean? That he can build an aliyah doesn't mean a new structure above the house, another floor. Aptoy, it means he had a floor with a high ceiling, a loft, and he put a floor in the middle. So now it's two floors. Sagt the Mishnah, a person shouldn't open up to the chatzah shutvim, meaning he's not allowed to open up in the chatzah of a shutvim a Pesach opening. And here he says it's not because of Hezekiah, it's only because of tznius, that they shouldn't look from his house. He shouldn't look from his own house into the house right up on the other side. Nor a window that's lined up with the window of Yeshachim. He shouldn't have that also because of tznius. What's if his Pesach or his opening or his window was cut in a small one? He shouldn't make it too big. If he had one opening or one window, one opening, one window, he shouldn't make it into two. but he could open up to a shasarabim. He could open up his door, even though it's lined up against the door of the house across the shasarabim, or the window, or window lined up with the window across the street of the shasarabim. He could do it. And the Gemara will say later the reason for it is because he has to worry about the Rabbin. The Rabbin is already looking in there. If the opening or the window that was opened up to the Shasarabim cotton was small, he could expand it and make it bigger. If it was one window, or one opening, he could make it into two. From where do we know these hayrais, these hagbalis, these limitations? Rabbi Yochanan said, it says in the pasuk, "Vayisa Bilam es Einav, Vayar es Yisrael Sheikhel Nishvatim." Vayisa Bilam es Einav means Bilam raised his eyes, and what Vayar he saw, as he saw Sheikhel Nishvatim, he saw that the Yisrael, the dwelling place of the Yisrael, Shevet by Shevet, and he's continued to bench them. What did he bench up? But because of that, he benched them. Because the way he saw that the house was set up, that's why he benched them. He saw that the openings of one tent are not lined up with the opening of the tent across. So since they behaved in a way of tznius, so that was the bracha. Yisrael is dashin the Shechina rested on the Yisrael. Why? Because of that tznius. Machni Yisrael was considered as a din of Chatzah Shel Shutfin, and therefore they had to be careful in the tznius. Okay, Zak v'yamad ha'yakatan lo yasanu gadol. If it was a small opening, he shouldn't expand it. So Rabbi Chama thought to say, that if the opening was only 4 amas wide, he shouldn't widen it to 8 amas. Because then he's taking out of the chatzah against the opening 8 amas by 4, and that's wrong. And the Gemara we said the heavy Pesach gets only a limit. How much? 4 amas. What's connected bias? And that's why it's forbidden to widen the Pesach of the chatzah, because then the balabais is taking more than he's allotted. A Pesach that was only wide 2 amas, he's allowed to widen it to 4 amas because he's not gaining, because he is allotted automatically for heavy Pesach 4 amas. Rava said that he could say to the one that wants to widen the Pesach from 2 amas to 4 amas, he says, he says, by that small opening, I was able to be matzniya, hide myself. But now, now that you extended and opened a wider opening, it's not enough. I'm unable to I'm unable to conceal myself from you. So he brings down, first of all, so he says the reason for it in the shatach is only because it's tznius. He's saying we're not worried about the shatach that he's stealing. You're right, he's not stealing anything. Okay, if he had one doorway, so he cannot make it into 2. So Rabbi thought to say that if he had a Pesach in the width of 4 amas, he shouldn't make, instead of the Pesach that was 4 amas, 2 openings of 2 amas, the kashakal tam the chatzah. Because once he has 2 openings, every opening is allotted 4 amas of the chatzah. So he's going to be getting 8. So that's why he's not allowed to do it. He's not allowed to take a opening that was 4 amas and divide it into 2 openings, because he would be taking away extra 4 amas. But what's if he lechatchila had an opening of 8 amas, and he was allotted already 8 amas of the chatzah for his opening? Then he could divide that opening into 2, because he's not gaining any of the amas of the chatzah. Rabbi said, Matzi Amalei, the shachan could say to him, Bechat Pischa Matzina, it's Tanui Minach, Betrei Loi Matzini, it's Tanui Minach. He said, with one opening, I'm able to, I can hide when the door is locked. I'm able to to do my private stuff. But now that you have two doors, so the Rashbam brings down, but that when you have two doors, yeah, one of them will always be open, so he'll never have privacy. Sagt die Mishnah weiter, aber Pesach but he could by Shesarabim, he can line up his opening against the opening of the house across the street. Whether it's a doorway or a window, he can line them up if it's across the Shesarabim. Sagt die Gemara, why? The Amalei save, save. He could say to him, ultimately, you're going to have to conceal yourself from doing anything from the people of the Rishus Harabim. They are able to see directly into your house, or from those that are traveling, they can directly see. The Hashbam says, but if it was we're talking about something that's higher than the height of a gummel, a camel, and its wagon. So even in the Rishus Harabim it's also, because the only one that's able to look directly across at that height is these two houses. They could, if they're lined up, he can see through. So therefore, in such a case, if it's higher than the height of the Rabbin being able to look in, and it's only between these two Yechidim, then it's forbidden, even though there's a Rishus Harabim in between. Sagt the Mishnah, you cannot make a hole under the Rishus Harabim like Beirish, Shichnum, Haaretz, pits, ditches, and caves. Rabbi Lezer says you could make holes, ditches, and caves. But Rabbi Lezer only if you make a cover over the hole, in order that a wagon should be able to go over that cover, but a wagon filled with stone. So since, according to Rabbi Lezer, you look at now, and since right now it's strong, we don't have to be concerned that in Lachazman it will become weak. Sagt die Yemad, one cannot make ledges or balconies, porches sticking out of his house into the Rishus Harabim. And the reason for it is we have to worry that maybe the Rishus Harabim will be nirshel by bumping into the ledge or into the balcony. Only if he wants, he has to draw a wall of his house backwards into his rishus, giving space on if they're in his rishus to have a balcony or a ledge. So like this, nobody can have tainas. Once he did it in his rishus, so the Bnei Rishus Harabim might come to use it b'shas adchak, but nevertheless he's allowed to do it because he's doing it in his own rishus, and it's upon the Bnei Rishus Harabim to be careful from this nezek. The Bnei Rishus Harabim should make themselves a wall together, not to go into that area. But what's if he had already bought a house with ledges and balconies? So then, we say he could keep it. And the reason for it is because the one who bought it, even though he doesn't have a raya that the previous owners did it b'rishus, but Bezdin will time it for him. And the same thing for a Yiddish, that the seller, most probably the reason why he was allowed to have these ledges and balconies, because he built it in his own rishus. He brought the wall of his house into his rishus so that he should be able to use his rishus for the ledges and the balconies. Bezdin will time that for him, and we won't force him to remove it. In fact, what's the reason that Rabbanan said he's not allowed to dig even though in a case where he put on a strong cover where a wagon filled with stones can go over it, why will Rabbanan say it's no good? And for the at times the cover could get rotten, and one who will pass over it won't know that it's rotten and fall into the hole. So according to Chachamim, Binyan and Ezekiel, you don't go according to now. Rabbi Lezer says, I go according to now. No. The Chachamim say we go according to the future. And this is like we had in the Gemara before, that according to Rabbi Yochanan, Ben Geya Ilam, that was sticking out to the Rishus Harabim, So there we had before the Reish Lakish, the machlokes between Reish Lakish and the Chachamim. They were arguing on something that could get rot, it could be a damage in the future. According to Rabbi Yochanan, the Chacham Amata, even in such a case, even though in the future will be a damage, but because they said it's still mutter for him to put a kisui there, just providing that the Bailam will check every little while to make sure that it won't do any harm. So the Gemara, we said one cannot build ledges or balconies into the Shusarabim. So the Gemara, Rabbi Ami had a ledge that protruded into the alleyway, into the Mavui. A Mavui is a place where all the Bnei Achatzeres go into that alley. All the people who have yards open up to that alley and go through there. And there was this person, and there was another person who had also a ledge, but his ledge stuck out into the Shusarabim. Said they want him to remove his ledge, his balcony that sticks over the Shusarabim because they're getting hurt. They came before Rabbi Ami. Rabbi Ami said to them, Zil Kaitz, go. He told this guy, cut off your ledge, cut off and get rid of your balcony. So he says to him, Amalei, so that person said to Rabbi, you're passing that on me? But you master have a ledge that's sticking out from your house as well. So Rabbi answered, mine is sticking out to the mavui, to the alleyway. The Bnei Mahamavi were meichel me and allow me to have this ledge, even though the halacha is lechatchila you shouldn't do it, and if you had it there for 3 years it would be a chazaka. But over here they were meichel lechatchila that he could have it. The dachle shusarabim mafik, but yours is sticking out to the shusarabim. Ma machal gabach. Who will be able to be meichel for you? Meaning that first of all, even if you had it 3 years, it's not going to be chazaka, because not everybody was there to be meichel. The whole world is part of the shusarabim. So not the whole world didn't get a chance to be meichel because they didn't see it, and you can't say they were all meichel. You don't know who was. That's not possible. By your mother, you know exactly who's there. That's what the Rashbam brings. Sagt die Gemara, Rabbi Yanai Habalei Ilon Hanek L'Shusarabim. Rabbi Yanai had a tree that extended into the Shusarabim. There was this person who also had a tree that protruded into the Shusarabim. The Bnei Shusarabim came and they said, get rid of your tree. It's the branches are causing causing harm for those that are traveling with their camels and wagons. He came before. They came before Rabbi Yanai. That person came before Rabbi Yanai. Rabbi Yanai said to that person, "Zil ha'idna, go now." And he told him, "Come back tomorrow." Come back tomorrow. By night, Rabbi Yanai sent somebody to cut down his tree. That person the next day came before Rabbi Yanai. Rabbi Yanai said to him, "Zilka, go cut down your tree." So the person said to him, "But the master has also a tree." So Rabbi Yanai said, "Yeah, I have a tree, but no, I don't." I'm sorry. Rabbi Yanai said, "Zilchazi, go see. See, go look and see. If mine is cut, then yours should be cut. If mine is not cut, you shouldn't cut yours." So to begin with, what was Rabbi Yanai thinking that he didn't cut his tree? Obviously, he had a svara there. And why at the end did he decide that he should cut his tree? It's mafriya to the Rishus Rabbim. And if he felt that the din is not so, you don't have to cut the tree. So why did he tell him to cut the tree? Okay. So you want to make the Yasrei Betulei. In the beginning, he thought that the Bnei Rishus Rabbim didn't mind that he had a tree sticking out, protruding into the Shasam. Because the tree has benefits, that it causes a shade. It's nice. But so since he had seen that the other person who had a tree like him protruding in the Shasam, and the Bnei Shasam were being meicher, so then he went and he made a cheshbon. The only reason they're doing it, that they're keeping quiet, says the Rashbam, was b'shvil k'vayidei shaskalei. Only because of his cover they kept quiet. But he realized that he is annoying them and he is causing harm to them. So therefore he went ahead and cut his tree and then told him to cut his tree as well. Why did he have to cut his tree first? Tell him, you cut yours first and I'll cut mine after. Why did Abyanai postpone it till he cut off his branches? And for the Gemara, Mishum de Shlakish, because the drasha of Reb Shlakish, Rabbi Yanai behaved according to the drasha of Shlakish. Shlakish said, clean yourselves of straw and clean yourselves of stubble. So he learned like this. First, adorn yourself. Meaning, how do you adorn yourself? You clean yourself. And then you could adorn others. Adorn others means then you could tell the others also straighten out. That's how Reish Lakish dashin. Koish is meloshin hashva, straighten out. So he said, and he learns, Ksheit atzmachem means Yashu atzmachem, first straighten out yourself, and then Yashu achayim, then you should straighten out the others. Okay, but if he wants to build a balcony, or he wants to build a ledge, he can bring in his wall of his chutzah inside, so the ledge will be, when he builds a protruding ledge or a balcony, it will be in his shoes. If he brought in the walls of his house more into his shoes in order to be able to make a ledge or a balcony, and he didn't do, at the end he didn't make a ledge or balcony. What's the din? Could he, after a long time, go ahead and build a ledge or balcony? Rabbi Yechon says, yeah, he could bring it. If he brings it in, he could make a ledge on the outside, even at a later time. Reish Lakish says once he brought it in, and he didn't do it for a while, he cannot put out the ledge or the balcony. Rabbi Yaakov is called Rabbi Yirmiyah on the same name as his father, Tachlifa, Bar Tachlifa. I will explain the machlekes. What did he mean? To make the ledges and the balconies, and after a while, he wants to do it after a long time of not doing it. He wants to do it now. Everybody agrees. Even la'achazman, he could make a ledge. Even la'achazman that he left, he brought in his wall inside and he left the shetach outside. Everybody agrees. That he could be maitzi, meaning and it's not. He's allowed to do it even after his mind. Keep pleading. Where they arguing? Mahavzik Shalom.
Should he take an Uber with a guy, or should you want to go pick him up?
Mahavzik Shalom Kaimam. He's talking about now, not that he wants to build a ledge and a balcony. He's allowed even if lachazman. That's for sure. They're arguing. He decided now he wants to extend his house back to where it was originally on the border of his property. So this is the machlekes. And we learn the way we learned that Rabbi Yochanan says kanas meitzi. We're going to learn that was really Reish Lakish. Really, Rabbi Yochanan is saying kanas v'loy meitzi, and Reish Lakish said kanas eina meitzi is really Reish Lakish is saying kanas umeitzi. And this is how you have to learn it. We're going to learn the lashon instead of meitzi marzer. Rabbi Yochanan ama eina marzer. Rabbi Yochanan says he cannot bring back the wall to the original place, to the border of the property. Reish Lakish says he could bring it back to the border of the property. Rabbi Yechon says he cannot bring it back to the border of the property. Mishum Rabbi Yehuda, because of Rabbi Yehuda, that Rabbi Yehuda had said, Meitzar, somebody who had a path between two fields, that the Rabban already have a chazaka to go through it. So then the halacha is that asila calculate. It's forbidden for him to ruin it, meaning because we say he already was mavatit for the people to go by. So here, that's by when we're talking about the boundary between the two fields. So they already, the rabbim were acquired that place. So therefore, we'll say the same thing here. That since he left that space and he moved his property in, and now the rabbin went there, uses the space, therefore he holds that he cannot go back and build a wall back to the border. The Shlakish says you could bring back the wall to the original place at the border. The rabbin acquired that area, so he says they didn't. When do we say we have to leave it for the rabbin? Only when there's no other way for the rabbin to go through. So by the path between the two fields, that was the only way for them to go through the two fields. So that's the only way. But therefore they acquire that place. But over here, it's a space. There's enough space, even before he brought in his wall. Before he moved the wall away from the border, there was enough space for the rabbin to go through. So therefore, he's allowed to bring it back. So we said if he bought a chatzah and there was zizin, ledges and balconies, it's his. It can remain there and he doesn't have to remove it. If the chatzah fell, meaning the walls of the chatzah had fallen, together with the ledge and the balcony, Ravuna said he can go back and rebuild it. The schus the koina has that he had before wasn't removed. Ravuna says it stays as before. That schus that he had remains. It says that you're not we don't plaster a wall with lime. And these practices were expression of the Churban Beis Hamikdash. That to remind us that so we have to leave a space of Dalal Amis, others say in each room or others say in the house, in one space of Dalal Amis. You leave without plaster. Nor do we put lime. Nor do we put ornaments, and like with pictures of people or figures and patterns, certain patterns that are made in the plaster itself. You're not allowed to do that. Again, this is all for Lezeicha Churban. Shumavelos al Beis Hamikdash. So what do we see there? Im lokach chotza mishiyadas mechayadas mefayachas. Well, what's if he bought the chatchila a chotza whose houses are already plastered with lime, ornaments, or special paints? Harei zu b'cheskasa. He doesn't have to remove the plaster, the paint, the tzuris. So nafla. But what's if but if the wall of the house in the courtyard fell, so then he cannot rebuild it as it was before. Rather, he has to leave the walls without these special paintings and ornaments and plaster. So just like over there, once it falls, the chazaka is gone. The schus that he had before is gone. So to here, when the schus that he had in the ledge and the balcony, once that wall fell, he shouldn't have any merit in it anymore. And if you want to Yisur shiny, when you're dealing with Yisur, it's different than Hazik Mamin. Siyud v'chiyu v'chulu. the plastering and the making figures and the ornaments, the chazaka that he had before doesn't help him to be over an Issa now, because it's a Issa l'chatchila to do such things. But the Rav Huna is not talking about of Issa, it's talking about Nizaki, Mamanis. And a chazaka does help when it comes to Mamanis, like it was before, to allow him to have the ledge and the porch like he had before. A person shouldn't plaster his house after the churban with the plaster. And if he mixed with it into the plaster, sand or straw, and he mixed it with the lime or with the plastering, then it says mutah, because they weaken the white color, the whiteness of the seed of the plaster. Rabbi Yehuda says if he mixed sand, he mixed it with sand, it's very strong plaster. That's for sure going to be for you of Isa for use for the building materials, because that takes the place of the whiteness, even though it's a little darker, but it makes it. But this that it made it stronger it takes the place of the extra whiteness, the usher, and it should be usher. Tevin mutter. Tevin is going to be mutter because tevin, the sai, it weakens. It's a weaker plaster, and sai, it darkens the color. When the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed for the second time, so many Jews became very. They separated themselves from Gashmis. Not to eat meat, not to drink wine, as a symbol of avails over the Beis Hamikdash. They took upon themselves a tremendous amount of availus, because Nevi'im had warned on the Churban Beis Harishon that, and they were maftiach that the Yidden will return after 70 years. So the Bnei Yisrael knew that the Tkufs of Churban, the season of the Churban, won't be that long. So therefore, they were afraid that they didn't want the Churban to continue for long. So therefore, they behaved in a mourning way. Nitba laheb Rabbi Yeshua. So Rabbi Yeshua came to them and dissuaded them. Amalam, he said to them, well, he engaged with them and he dissuaded them. Amalam, he said to them, Banai, my son, what is the reason that you're not eating meat or drinking wine? How do you know to separate yourself from such things? And the reason for the Perushim were because the meat and the wine were created be'ikah for Hashem. And therefore, now that we're not makiv, so we have to withhold from having enough from that. Now that we're not being makiv kabanis, and we're not doing nischa yayin, so we're not allowed to drink wine and eat meat. Amalai, they said, what? That should we eat meat upon which we were makiv on the mizbeach in the time when the mikdash is existing? And now there was the churban, and this whole kabanis was bottled. I mean, nishta yain, should we drink wine? How can we drink wine? They used to pour the wine on the mizbeach as part of the Avodah. Now it's no more. So is it proper that we should enjoy wine while the mizbeach cannot have enjoyment of it, and the meat, when the mizbeach cannot have an enjoyment of it? Surely not. He said, he said, then if so, you shouldn't be eating bread. Because the meal offerings that were offered on the mizbeach are also made from flour, and it's no more. He says, what about peiros? Was it? Are you allowed to have Peiros. You should abstain from Peiros. Why? Meaning, well, first he said Efshel Peiros, meaning you could be Mekayim just eating Peiros and stay away from Lalchem. So Rabbi Yeshua says, don't, not so fast. Peiros, also Peiros, like Neichel, we shouldn't eat Peiros. Shekva, because by the Peiros is Batal Bikurim. Because since the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, so the first fruits are no more. So it's not proper for us to enjoy from the fruits while the Beis HaMikdash cannot enjoy from the fruits. So you want to mayim. So what do you say? Maybe we can eat from other peiros that we should eat from other peiros that you don't bring bikurim, and we should just separate ourselves from the peiros of the shiva minim, of which we brought bikurim. And so too the lechem which was made from those minim, that's the type of minim we should eat. Those that weren't makav on the mizbeach. So the Gemara, according to your words, mayim lo nishta. So we shouldn't even drink wine. Shekva batul nischa mayim, because in the 7 days, every day of the 7 days of Sukkot, there would be menaseh, pour wine on the mizbeach. So we're not allowed to drink wine. If the mizbeach can have the wine, we shouldn't be able to have the wine. Amalahem, so Rabbi Yeshua said to them, Banai, my children, Bayu b'ayim lachem. Come here and I'll explain it to you. What's the proper way to behave in Avela? Shaleilis habakolika iyavsher. Not to mourn at all. Shaleilis habakolika, not to mourn at all. Iyavsher. That's impossible. Shekva nigzik zeda. For the zeda of the destruction has already happened. Sheyir chubim nischayv l'lisabel, and we became a chayv to mourn. So we have already exedel l'isabel al hamikdash. L'isabel yoisimedai. And to mourn excessively, that's impossible. Because you cannot be geyser on a tzibur unless majority of the people of the public are able to comply with that gzeira, and to withhold people from the entire people from foods, breads, wine, meat, and wine. That's intolerable for whole tzibur. And where do we see that? It says in the pasuk, it says, "You are cursed." You are cursed with a curse. Yet you rob me. The Hagoy Kulei, the entire nation, you rob. So he brings down the Navi is saying, the Navi says that all of Am Yisrael accepted the curse if they don't fulfill the mitzvah of all the matanes, meaning Maisa and Truma, to bring it to the Beis HaMikdash, to bring it to the storehouse of the Mikdash, of which from over there they would distribute to the Kohanim and the Leviim. So the Kol Am Yisrael, all of Am Yisrael cursed anyone who wouldn't accept these conditions. And the Navi tells them Musa that they didn't behave as befitting. They kept the matanis for themselves. They stole from Hashem, and therefore they were mechuyev in the curse, which they put upon themselves, because they said that if we don't abide by these takanis, we should be cursed. So from the divya of the medivya navi ayilake akzera chivas goy kulei, dainu kol ha'am goes al atzman zerarut. It's a gzera that the whole tzibur decreed upon themselves. Min astam loy hay mekabel halatzim ilo hayu soon sheinim yuchen lam bekach. Min astam, they would have never accepted to curse themselves if they don't abide by the takana, if it was a takana that they couldn't keep by. Here we know, here we know that a gzeda doesn't stay, or we don't make a gzeda on such a thing that the whole tzibur cannot abide by it, cannot be mekayim it. So therefore, we can't make such a velus and place it on the rabbin because it's so severe that it's it's a gzeira, it's a velus that the tzibur cannot abide by it. So rather, what Rabbi Yeshua said, this is how you should behave in havelis. He says, "Alakach amr chacham." Rather, this is what the chacham said, the proper way to do avelis. So the other as basically see, if a man plasters his house with plaster, mishai by davamud, he should leave a small area unplastered. So in here you have machlekes. Is it in each room you have to leave amal, or it's only in one part of the house? So lemaisa we do only one part of the house. That we leave unplastered in order to have zekel chumim. The kama, how much should be left unplastered? Amar Yosef, amal ama. Amar Chisda said, "Connect Pesach." This unplastered place should be opposite the doorway, that it should be recognizable. On the wall of a person that faces when he enters the house, that's where it should be. A man could prepare a meal, but in order to be mekayim the eating of avelos mashayad avamud, he should leave out one part of the menu. He should leave out one item of the menu. He should leave out. That's the eating of avelos by seuda tzachis suda. Mahi, what is an example for that? Amar Papa kasa de hasna. Papa said it's a fish dish. So one fish dish that if you have in addition to the menu, part of the menu is the items of the menu is a fish dish. Leave out the fish dish. A woman applies all of her usual makeups, adornments, but she should omit one small adornment when she does. What is that? Bas tzida. That's the makeup that they would put on the forehead on the temple. It was made. It was made to beautify, so that part they would leave out for zeichlichum. Like it says, if I forget you, Yerushalayim, so it says tishkach yamini. May my right hand wither or be cut off, wither. Tigbak l'shein lechiki, and my tongue should cleave to the top of my mouth. If I don't remember the Yerushalayim, so this is what he's cursing himself. What is the meaning that Yerushalayim above my highest is my highest joy? Rabbi Yitzchak says, this refers to the ashes that are placed on the heads of the chasanim at their weddings as a sign of mourning for the Churban Beis Hamikdash. So where is that place? Where would the chasan place it? These ashes, says you might have came to on the head, on the place where you put the tefillin sharash. Shadam, like it says, lasum laveletziim las lam pe'er tachas efer. Like it says, to appoint for the avelim of tzion to give the adornment in place of ashes. So in the place of tefillin, which is called pe'er, which is the same letters as efer, that's where you should place the efer. So the Gemara. Okay, so the Gemara, the head tefillin is where the top of from where the soft part of the head of a baby is till the front. That's where the head was placed. That's where you would place the ashes. Okay, so the Gemara. I just said that. And whoever mourns over Yerushalayim will merit, will be zeicha to witness the reconstruction and the rejoicing of the Beis Hamikdash Hashlishi. Like it says, rejoice with Yerushalayim, etc. So it means, and all will show Ava and all will show Simcha for the Beis Hamikdash, meaning all those that mourn will have the Ava and Simcha for the Beis Hamikdash. It says, "V'gilu ba'kol ha'yaveh sisu ita masais kol ha'misablim aleim." That the sisu. Let's tie the rest of the pasuk. It says, "Rejoice with Yerushalayim, simchas Yerushalayim," and then it says, "V'gilu be glad with her." Kol ha'yaveh, all that who love her. Sisu ata masais, sisu ata, rejoice for joy. Ita, isisu ita. Then rejoice for joy with her. Masais with ita masais with her. Kol ha'misablim aleh, all who mourn for her. Okay. Sagt die Gemara Tanya, im gelernt, Rabbi Sam Rabbi Yishmael ben Elisha. Rabbi Yishmael ben Elisha said, "Yom shchar Beis Hamikdash." From the day that the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, Dinu shenigzal atzmeinu. It would be proper that we decree upon ourselves that we shouldn't eat meat, drink wine as a sign of mourning for the Churban. Rather, we don't make a gzeira on the tzibur unless the tzibur is able to comply with the gzeira, and most Jews are unable to abstain from meat and wine. And similarly, ever since the Gzeres Royes, the Roman Empire placed harsh decrees that upon the Jewish people, and they were mevatel the opportunity of learning Torah and fulfilling mitzvahs. And furthermore, they don't allow us to do brisim for our children. And some say if it's referring to opinion aben. So then it would be proper that we should be guys on ourselves. That we shouldn't marry women and have children. And it would come out that our forefathers, Abraham's seed, the Jewish people, would expire on its own instead of the Romans stopping us from fulfilling the mitzvahs, the learning Torah and doing mitzvahs. So it's preferable not to have a son that you should have to father the son, than to have a son and not be able to perform the mitzvahs, the bris and the pidyon ben. So really we shouldn't. But nevertheless, so however, let the Yidden continue marrying and father children, since in any event they're not going to be able to stop that, because people tend to marry women and have children. It's preferable that they should be shayyin on not being able to perform brisin or other mitzvahs, and not be deliberate. Meaning the Chachamim adopted this policy because if they would stop them from being able to marry women, that would never happen. That would be a gzeira she'ein yichenu lamed ba. So that's why they didn't. They allowed them to marry, and they said it's better they should do it this way than knowing that they're not allowed to get married and being able on the gzeira of the basic.